Even as the Minister for Finance, Njeru Githai, sought to set the record straight on county funding. As the debate raged, Attorney General Githu Muigai waded into the controversy as he rallied behind county governors who are opposed to the appointment of county commissioners. These are among other stories lined up for you. Good evening, I'm Joroge Mwaura. Welcome to KTN Prime, but first, the highlights.
This idea that there is somebody in government or in treasury or wherever is against the devolution, I don't know where it came from.
Saving devolution, Treasury moves to resolve funding stalemate.
Nitatenda kazi zangu za urais.
To hold and swear, the traditional oath that is about to change.
Thank you once again, Your Excellency. Thank you very much.
Its dream come true as Moi meets President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta.
Some of the kits that are recommended are in the process of pre-qualification.
No cause for alarm. HIV testing kits are reliable. Now, Finance Minister Njeru Githai says that Treasury is not denying funds for micromanaging counties. Now, this follows protest by a section of governors that the government is undermining them and is keen on killing the spirit of devolution. Sophia Wanuna has been following this county budget story and joins us live from the KTN newsroom with the latest.
Good evening, Njoroge, and a good evening to all our viewers. Now, as you rightfully mentioned it there, of course, the induction of the county governors has been going on in Naivasha. And remember, during the opening ceremony of that induction, some of the governors had raised concerns with the involvement of the National Treasury in formulating the budget for county governments. They said that they were accusing the National Treasury and some forces in government of meddling with the county government. So I prepared this report. Let's take a listen at what the Finance Minister Njeru Githai had to say.
So this idea that there is somebody in government or in treasury or wherever is against the devolution, I don't know where it came from. Treasury has gone out of its way to assist the county government.
Outgoing Minister for Finance Njeru Githai disputed claims that the Treasury in formulating county budgets for the transition period was interfering with the independence of county governments.
Absolutely no intention of micromanaging the counties, because we are not even capable of doing so. If we had not done this, the earliest time they would have been able to access funds would have been after July. So the main purpose for having the transition would then have been defeated.
The 47 counties have been allocated a total of 9.8 billion shillings for the transition period between March 4th and end of June this year.
If the county governments want to change this, or they are unhappy, or they want to, or the priorities are different from this, then they have to go through the same process now.
A process that would see them only access funds towards the end of their financial year, leaving them without money during the transitional period. Githai said that the county governments will receive more than the minimum allocation of 15% stipulated in the constitution.
Let us not spend time disputing petty stuff about what powers you have and the other fellow has or what doesn't have anything.
It is these remarks by President Kibaki at the opening of the Governors' Induction Workshop in Naivasha that left some governors agitated, with some claiming that the national government was interfering with devolution.
The reminder from the President, in my own opinion, should be taken from the perspective of national integration and unity, and I hope that's what he meant, rather than from the perspective of the allocation of functions to the counties and the autonomy when it comes to the functions of the county governments.
The county commissioners will not be in charge of the county budget as alleged within some quarters, as their roles are clearly stipulated in the constitution.
National Government Coordination Act is very clear as to the functions of county commissioners. They are only going to coordinate the functions of national government at the county level.
All right, we have heard from the Finance Minister there, Njeru Githai, defending their role in preparing that budget for the transition period. Of course, the transition period runs between March the 4th, the date of the general election, and the end of June, when the financial year also comes to a close, saying they were just trying to assist the county governments. And of course, they are ready to let them prepare their own budgets if they so choose, a process that, of course, would take quite some time, as he explained there in that press briefing that you've just watched. Now, also one of the things that he highlighted before I hand it back to you, Njoroge, is that he had met the President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President-elect William Ruto, and that they told him to include in the budget estimates for the next financial year the promises they made in their campaign trail. And one of the things that they highlighted, that the free maternal health care must be provided, that must be made to happen as soon as possible, and also free access to government dispensary services. Another promise they made during the campaigns was the free milk to primary school going children, and more so the laptops. Everybody has been asking about those. So the two principals, of course, incoming by 9th of April, of course, they're going to be sworn in. Njoroge, they urged the two, William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, urged the Finance Minister to make sure that those promises they made are part of the budget. Of course, the minister did say that free laptops for the primary going children, that would take some time. It will be implemented in phases, but of course it would be implemented. Njoroge, back to you.
Thank you very much, Sophia Wanuna, for trying to explain to us that sensitive county funding matter. Of course, you heard it from the Finance Minister, is denying that there is indeed micromanaging. It's not there, he says, but the governors won't have it, and they're going to chase that issue really very diligently. And talking of devolution, just how safe is Kenya's cherished devolved system of government? Could there be forces out to undermine this principle of governance? Are there forces out to give a new meaning to this idea? Could there be plans to use the principle of devolution to fragment our nation? Who are these forces? They should be named and shamed. Now, the devolution process, as you know, in Kenya is a product of a new constitution adopted in 2010. Now, this was after a long struggle that saw lives lost and others maimed. The new constitution creates a new restructured system of devolved government with two tiers of elected government at national and county levels. Now, the new constitution creates 47 counties but does not divide the country into 47 counties. We remain a united nations both at the top and at the grassroots. What Kenyans have and have always wanted, I suppose, since independence, is a system of government that devolves resources, power, and responsibilities to the counties. And these counties remain under one central government with one president. Now, there are no county presidents, of course. Devolution around the world is a highly political process, and we understand the jitters being experienced at the moment regarding the relationship between governors and the central government. As those concerned attempt to resolve the deadlock, Kenya must remain united. And in trying to resolve the deadlock, the focus of devolution should remain to end historical inequities and injustices, whether real or perceived. But nothing, including a system of government, should undermine national cohesion and integration. And that is the notebook for this week. Well, devolution is indeed dominating our news tonight, and as the devolution debate continues, the Attorney General Githu Muigai has added his voice to the row. The Attorney General says he supports the governors in opposing the appointment of county commissioners. The Attorney General says he was opposed to the appointment of the commissioners from the onset and had advised the government accordingly. According to the Attorney General, the commissioners were appointed under the old law, but investigations were still underway to ascertain whether they had been factored in the new dispensation. Muigai says the law was very clear and the governors had the authority to execute their mandate as outlined in the Constitution. Now, on the issue of flying flags, Muigai says that there was a law pending in Parliament which, if enacted, would see the Emblems Act amended.
I didn't say it from my own mind. I read it from the Constitution. Not only do I think the governor should have the flag, I think he should have two. Isn't that what I've told you this morning? The governor should have the national flag and the flag of his county.
What we are saying as governors is that we don't want systems which are creating conflicts. We are not saying that we don't want individuals. What we are saying is that whoever has designed this system had designed the system with a very clear mind that conflicts in terms of execution can be a major deterrent towards delivery of what the devolved system is meant to deliver.
Now, the Code Alliance, for its part, now claims the ruling Jubilee coalition is trying to poach some of its members. The Code leadership says the attempt is aimed at undermining its role as the official opposition in the Senate and in the National Assembly. And as KTN's Patrick Kamimo reports, CORD is warning it will not relent in its fight to defend devolution.
After the Prime Minister cautioned county representatives to be on the lookout against those out to derail the devolved system of government, CORD allied lawmakers were at his residence where matters to do with the party discipline and unity were emphasized. Members were also taken through operations of House committees, the shadow cabinet and whipping. The meeting also provided opportunity for bonding ahead of the official opening of both Senate and Parliament. The CORD leadership accused the rivals in the Jubilee Alliance of early attempts to poach their members.
Some of our partners, for example, have been approached and have been more or less given offers to leave our side and go the other side.
You begin to see tendencies that were evident in the 70s and the early 80s, one-party kind of state. There must be vibrant opposition in Parliament.
Both CCU, that is led by Wavinya Ndeti, and People's Democratic Party PDP, that is led by Omengo Magara, campaigned under the CORD Alliance in the last polls, but quickly shifted allegiance to the Jubilee Alliance in a post-election deal.
The way it is done in mature democracies, either you do a pre or a post, but you don't do both.
CORD Alliance assured Kenyans it will play a people's watchdog role in Parliament and Senate to ensure devolution is entrenched as is enshrined in the Constitution.
The letter and the spirit of the new Constitution shall remain our number one objective.
We want the devolution agenda not to be diluted. This, of course, will be resisted very strongly by CORDs, both inside the House and outside the House.
Will Raila and Kalonzo's absence in the bicameral Parliament impact CORD Alliance's performance?
The performance of this party in Parliament and out of it is not going to suffer because of the Vice President or the Prime Minister.
We must not at any level, at any rate, allow any interference from any quarters.
Nobody should speculate whatsoever on the decision and our determination to work very closely together.
Patrick Kamimo, KTN Prime.
Now, the Jubilee Alliance is on a poaching spree and the red flag is high. The move by the ruling coalition to sign pacts with rival parties in Parliament is raising concern that the scheme could silence the critical voice of the opposition in Parliament. But as KTN Samogina reports, Jubilee claims its activities are aimed at advancing its agenda in the House.
After the doors shut on CORD leaders Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and the subsequent lack of a political soft landing, The coalition is now strategizing on fortifying a formidable opposition in parliament. Without propping an heir apparent to take up the baton from the CORD principles, lobbying within the coalition has increased with focus being the powerful post of leader of minority, a position equivalent to the official leader of opposition.
It is the person who will lead the troops in the National Assembly and the person who will lead the troops in the Senate who will actually be offering alternative legislative and alternative policy voices. Anything else outside the parliament and whatever will be a voice here and there.
Budalangi Member of Parliament Ababu Namwamba, an ardent Raila supporter, is fashioning himself for the lead of minority, holding consultative meetings with various ODM MPs. Sources close to the power negotiations say Ababu is to meet CORD Coast parliamentarians Friday to make his case. The Budalangi MP has picked on Kwale women representative Zainab Chizuga to deputize him in a gender parity strategy.
I still think that it's important that Kenyans have an opposition to articulate their voices, a group of people who can then give us alternative policies and alternative legislative agenda in this country.
But on the flip side, the Jubilee Alliance is busy consolidating its staff, signing post-election pacts, setting the stage for a possible weak opposition in the National Assembly, while the bicameral parliamentary system dictates that the Senate will keep Parliament and the Executive in check. The Senate is under firm grip of the Jubilee coalition.
It is necessary to have an opposition, but at the moment we are not the ones to play that role. We've already made a decision and we've joined up with government. And I do hope that we don't hold, somebody should stay and watch over, but not us at this moment. Yeah.
The practice in Kenya is that everybody wants to be in government. And that's a tragedy.
President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta in 2002 was a fierce critic of the Kibaki administration as leader of opposition, but that spirit was killed in 2007 with the crafting of the Grand Coalition government. The only opposition then was the then KADU leader Cyrus Jirongo, but the lone voice was stifled in parliament. NARC Kenya party leader Martha Karua would later join him after walking out from the executive. 7 years later, President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta seems keen on reproducing the 2005 Kibaki script and the concept of government of national unity when Kibaki kicked out the referendum rebels led by Prime Minister Raila Odinga in a NARC fallout to pick the likes of Simeon Nyachae into government.
It will amount to changing Kenyans, where every party wants to go into government as if there is no role for opposition. There is a role for opposition, which essentially is alternative government in waiting.
Uhuru is crystallizing the Jubilee Alliance, claiming all he wants is a strong defense of the government agenda in the National Assembly. To meet the 2/3 majority threshold, Uhuru's Jubilee Alliance has signed pacts with Chama cha Wananchi, PDP, New Forward Kenya, the Alliance Party of Kenya and KANU. In a self-preservation move, majority of parties want to be in the government rather than in opposition.
I don't think in the two houses that we have, there would be a lack of opposition. Unless CORD decides to join government, then that's a real threat. But for us as a party, we felt our interest was much served by joining up with Jubilee.
It is checkmate for CORD to produce a lethal opposition leader or the minority leader that will live to the prestigious leader of opposition tag, constantly keeping the government on check. Samogina, KTN, Nairobi.
And it's time for your interactive corner. That story leads us to a big question tonight. We are asking you, do you believe Jubilee is out to kill the opposition in the 11th Parliament? Send your yes or no responses with brief comments to the number 8040. We'll be sampling your views and, of course, bringing you the results later in this broadcast. Now to a story that will no doubt mark a departure from tradition for Kenya's presidents taking oath of office, the swearing in of Uhuru Kenyatta upon a Bible not raised by him but held for him by the First Lady in waiting, Margaret Kenyatta. Uhuru will place his left hand on the Bible and raise his right hand as he takes the oath of office on Tuesday. Our senior reporter Rita Tinina has been doing some digging on the origin of the tradition and found the following report.
When Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is sworn in as Kenya's 4th president next Tuesday, it will be unique for several reasons. For a country where swearing in of leaders has traditionally been done by raising the Bible during oath-taking for Christians, Uhuru will depart from that practice. He will not raise the Bible. The Bible will be held for him by his wife of 23 years, Margaret, and Uhuru will place his left hand on the Bible and raise his right hand as he takes the oath. Uhuru made the request to have the Bible held by his wife to the Committee on the Assumption of Office of the President, and the committee says it will honor that request. But Uhuru will not be the first leader to do so. When he took the oath of office for his first term in 2009, United States President Barack Obama placed his hand on the Bible that was used by former President Abraham Lincoln. The Bible was held for him by his wife Michelle. In January this year, as he took the oath of office for a second term, the US President did the same thing. Only this time, he placed his hand on two Bibles. The one that was used by Abraham Lincoln to take his oath and the one that was owned by Martin Luther King Jr. Both Bibles were held by Michelle. Obama placed his left hand on the Bibles and raised his right as he took the oath of office. Obama's Vice President Joe Biden too has been taking the oath of office while placing his hand on the Biden family Bible. The 5 inches thick Bible has been in the Biden family for over 100 years. In January this year, Biden took his oath upon the Bible held by his wife, Jill. The tradition is said to have been started by George Washington, the first president of the United States, during his inauguration on the 30th of April, 1789. Washington is also credited with adding the words, "So help me God." It's a tradition that has been embraced by other leaders in power.
These young charges need to be grounded and play one match at a time.
If they can improve on what they had last year with at least a margin of 20%, believe me not, Thika United will be there flying high.
Thika United has made a couple of signings with former KCB forward Ezekiel Odera, one of the most enterprising additions to the side.
It is a marathon. It is very far, but I'm more focused on developing the players, especially with the 20% margin. If I get the 20% margin, who knows?
The side will either meet former league champions Ulinzi Stars or Gor Mahia in the semi-final of the top 8. They denied Gor Mahia the top gong last season and will be looking to play the bogey card again on Kogalo. Reporting for KTN Sports today, I'm Hassan Juma.
To Antananarivo now, where defending Africa Feminine Volleyball Champions Kenya Prisons and former 7-time champions Kenya Pipeline started their 2013 campaign on a high, winning their opening matches with identical 3-0 scores. Kenya Prisons defeated Koltuano from Botswana in 3 straight sets of 25-17, 25-11 and 25-9, while Pipeline drained out Manga Sports from Gabon in similar sets of 25-17, 25-11 and 25-9. It took Pipelines approximately 47 minutes to register their first victory in Pool C. Pipeline is in the same group with Les As from Burundi and Ndeje from Uganda. Kenya Prisons, who are chasing their 3rd African title, are in Pool B with Water Sports from Ethiopia and GSPL from Algeria. The city of Antananarivo in Madagascar is hosting the Africa Club Championships for the first time, and the winners will get an automatic ticket to the World Club Championships that will be held in Doha, Qatar in December. Let me bring you up to speed with the Europa League matches that are going on at this particular moment, or just about to start across Europe. Benfica will be at home against Newcastle. Chelsea will be at the Stamford Bridge against visiting Rubin Kazan from Russia. Tottenham Hotspurs will play FC Basel, while Fenerbahce will host Italian side Lazio in just 4 matches in the Europa League that will be played tonight. But last night in the UEFA Champions League, Real Madrid had a tough lesson for Galatasaray in just one of the matches that was played.
KTN Sports Today.
Well, before we wind up KTN Prime tonight, a reminder of our big question tonight. Njoroge, if you allow me, I'll read it.
Yeah.
Do you believe that Jubilee is out to kill the opposition in the 11th Parliament? Do you believe Jubilee is out to kill the opposition in the 11th Parliament?
What was the results tonight?
Absolutely, Njoroge, I have they coming in right now. Yes at 66% and no at 34%. So overwhelmingly, people voting in at 66.
Thank you very much. That's where we end it tonight. Sadiq, myself, and Boni Tunya. Thank you very much for watching. Very shortly, you have Live Wire with James Martin, Studio 2. Stay tuned.